What are you saying, bro? You ready for another lesson?
Man, I can't wait, man. It's been a while, so...
That's a screw.
Making it so already, you know?
Hey, right rudder, that's it.
Wheel 01, you can backtrack now.
Needs to be over the field in between the two.
Alright.
What do you know about increasing the angle of bank?
Full speed.
Exactly.
You're fine, you're on the centre line, and then suddenly you're not, bro.
Looks like you're in a grass brush.
That landing. Whew. I'm worn out.
Are you aiming to be a commercial pilot?
Yes, at some
Right.
point.
Yes, so these calls, they have to be made in a commercial environment. Well done, mate. You're going to make a good commercial pilot.
Thank you.
I'll walk up behind the aircraft. You're very behind the aircraft.
We've got a fuel leak. Have we? Yeah.
By the way, got the whiskey, sorry. The whiskey is quite strong. Mate, you're going to make a good commercial pilot.
You still have control.
No, you tell me when you want to take control. You tell me when you want to take control.
Ever? Do I have to?
Yes. Because I say so. Bear in mind, you're going to have to work with what you've got, normally. What do you need?
That's what I'll make use of what I've got.
Previously on Future Pilot 901.
Okay, how you feeling?
Feeling good?
Good. You're gonna go solo.
Okay. Student Will 08 is ready for departure. We are off.
Student Wheel 08, surface wind is 330 at 9 knots, we've got one to vacate.
Student Will 08.
Charlie Kilo is right base, get out to land. Student Wheel 08, minute takes and well done.
This aircraft is so nice to fly with. Yeah, very nice.
Victor Golf, Kid 20 Southing Victoria airspace now in the climb task sheet 3,000 feet, heading 090 degrees.
Yes, 3,000 feet is very nice and smooth. Yeah, it's not like in the cloud.
Location Sierra November. This comes the procedure report on low flight established.
The whole point of getting your IMC is you fly clouds. That's sort of where we are roughly. See?
Okay.
So we came in for an approach on runway 23. We did a missed approach, and now we're being vectored around to do another approach into runway 23.
It's the first Monday of the month. That means it's a chance for you to ask me anything. Ever since I was a kid, I had a dream of becoming a pilot, but could never afford it. One day I decided to stop making excuses, to sacrifice my comfort, to make my dream happen. My name is D, and this is my journey. This is Future Pilot 901. Yes! What's up, boys and girls, aviators, aviation enthusiasts? Welcome back to Future Pilot 901 live on Kick and YouTube every Monday, 7 p.m. UTC. I'm your future captain. My name is D, and this is episode number 38 of Future Pilot 901 live. Shout out to you guys. Thank you for being here. Happy new month. Happy new month. Can you believe it? It is March already. Crazy. The days do not wait for anyone. Time does not wait for anyone. So I hope you are steadily advancing towards achieving your dreams. Hey, look, full disclaimer, I'll be honest. I have been slacking a little bit. Yeah, I've been slacking a little bit. I'm going to be honest about that. I'm going to hold myself accountable right here live. I did manage to get an application out last week, so I'm very happy about that. But this week, I need to get some more done, some more applications done. But I hope you guys are having a great week so far. I had a day off work today, so I was quite happy about that. The day of work, I could catch up on some rest, catch up on a few different projects that I'm involved in. So that has been a blessing. So today you get to ask me anything. It's a nice low-key chilled session. Put your questions in the chat and I will work my way through it. I have got some prepared questions, some questions that I usually come across. And so I will be covering them. But if you have another question, pop it in the chat. I'll be happy to have a look. I'll be happy to have a look. Let me know what you're up to. How is it going so far? Everyone's different, you know. Everyone's different. Some people are aware of a new month. Some people, you know, bring a little bit more energy. Some people a little bit more chill. But imagine you've paid to get into the flight deck. You know, for all your training, all those years of study, of hard work, of dedication, of resilience, of being rejected, trying again, you know, having times when it seems like the dream will never be achieved. And then finally you achieve it, you get through recruitment and you go to work, and on your first day, this happens.
I like the way you work it. Got to back it up. I like the way you work it. I got to back it up.
Hilarious. Do you know what? I think that would be good vibes, actually. I think that would be super vibes. I think I might just enjoy my first day at work if my captain came in singing like that. That would be amazing. That would be amazing. That would be brilliant. That would be incredible. That would be incredible. You know, aviation has allowed me to have some amazing, brilliant, wholesome moments. I had a very, very wholesome moment the other day. I got a call from a friend, someone I know, and he asked me about flight planning. He asked me about a route that I've flown before a few times, and he was like, "How do you do this route? how do you go about it? You know, what's your kind of procedures? Because you're more familiar with the area. So I talked him through it, told him what I usually do, what routes I take, why I take those routes, etc., etc. And then after the call, I was just thinking, wait, like 2, 3, well, I've had my license now for 3 years. So let's say, well, just 2.5 years. But 3 years ago, that conversation was absolutely not even on the board. You know, that kind of conversation did not exist in my world. But it's amazing how when you take little steps forward and you inch forward, how sometimes, you know, by the time you look up, you're like, wait, I'm way far, you know, far advanced from where I started. So that was really wholesome. I was very grateful for that. I was very grateful because 5 years ago, I definitely wasn't getting calls about, you know, flight planning and routes and procedures and stuff like that. So it's amazing how your life can change simply by the choices that you make and being consistent over time, even though, you know, we are human. Nobody's 100% consistent, but you can keep going. All right, so you're obviously new to the channel. Welcome to you. If you caught my intro, I say that I'm your future captain. This is Future Pilot 901, and I'm your future captain. All right, so there's a few reasons why I wear the 4 stripes. Partly because, one, you know, streaming sometimes, particularly because I tend to reach out to people who are not necessarily into aviation as much, and so being in uniform just allows people to kind of grasp immediately what it's about without knowing too much. But the other element is it's part of visualizing. It's part of visualizing, you know, when you're visualizing, you want to, in fact, a few months ago, we were going through this book, Performance Pilot, and visualizing is a huge thing in that book. And if you hear, you know, listen to any successful people, they'll tell you visualizing is important. If you speak to pilots, they'll usually talk about armchair flying, which is visualizing. And the more props that you have, the more real you can make your visualizing or visualization, the more effective it's supposed to be. So I dress myself in this prop because that's what I'm visualizing. If you want to dress yourself in 1 stripe, by all means go ahead. If you want to dress yourself in no stripes, by all means go ahead. But you know, have I ever told you guys one of my big dreams? Have I ever mentioned one of my big dreams? Have I? One of my big dreams is one day to own an airline. Okay, so I'm not just trying to become an airline pilot, I'm trying to own an airline. And so guess what? If I have my company, I can wear whatever stripes I want to wear. Yeah, I can wear whatever stripes, however many stripes I want to wear in my company. And so I'm practicing for my company. Never let people hold you back. Never let people's opinion hold you back from you doing what you need to do for you. You know, obviously, as long as you're not breaking the law or doing anything illegal, do whatever you need to do for you, you know? So yeah, I'm wearing 4 stripes. It's just the way it is. It's just the way it is. Anyways, questions in the chat, questions in the chat, questions in the chat. Speaking of wholesome moments in aviation, imagine being able to take your child flying and then being able to give them their first landing.
And then once we're beam where we want to touch down, you can start making your nice shallow descending turn to the runway.
Okay.
So you got it.
Can I start now?
Yep, good. Remember, you want to keep going down.
I'll shove it up turn final short out.
All right, so let's turn final so we're lined up.
5 miles.
Keep going down.
South.
Yeah, don't worry, Daddy's on here with you. Good. Alright, so once we know we've got the runway made, bring the power all the way back to idle. The power all the way back.
This?
Yep.
All the way back?
All the way back, good. Alright, now remember what I said. When I say pull back, pull back. When I say hold it, just keep it still.
Okay.
So pull back, hold it, hold it here. Pull back a little, back, a little bit of a floor, that's okay. Back, hold it, back. Good, now hold it there. Good. Alright, that was pretty good.
Pretty good?
That was pretty good.
Pretty good's not good.
Pretty good is great.
Is it?
Yeah, so I jumped in the comment section of that video and people picked up on the fact that this girl was like, pretty good is not good. She's very clearly, motivated to be her best, and it's great to watch. It's great to watch. A lot of comments were saying, yeah, she'll be fine. She'll be fine as a pilot. If she's not happy with pretty good and she wants to be even better, then she's going to do well as a pilot. So that was wholesome, very wholesome. Maybe one day I will get to do that. Who knows? You have to put these things out in the universe for yourself. You have to put these things out in the universe for yourself. Any other cool videos? There's been a lot floating around on the internet. Maybe I'll share that as we go. We'll see. All right. So questions, preguntas. Let's look at some of the questions. So some people have applied for a PPL scholarship from a certain specific company, and they are going through selection process at the moment. And very soon, when is it? Next month, they will be attending interviews. So maybe I might give few interview tips towards the end. But one of the questions that come up is how do you recover from rejection? And the truth is, every single person, every single one of us has to have an answer to this question. And in fact, every single one of us has an answer to this question. Whether it's intentional or unintentional, whether you have a conscious response or unconscious response, there is an answer to this question, because the truth is you cannot skate through life without having rejection. So there are multiple ways that we respond to rejection. Some of us doubt ourselves. Some of us, or do you know what? We all do this at different times. We doubt ourselves. Maybe we decide this is not for me anymore. Sometimes that turns into anger and resentment towards the people. For example, don't get selected. Well, they don't choose people like me. Maybe they're biased. Maybe they're this. And sometimes that is true. Do you know what? I'll go into that first for a little bit. Just because something is true doesn't mean it's useful for you to think that way. Just because something is true doesn't mean it's useful for you to think that way. Or for you to, let me put it this way. So let's say you're going through selection and you've been rejected because they're biased against you or your type of people. Now, should you walk around with a chip on your shoulder because they don't favor people like you? Or should you use a different philosophy? Because if you already, let's say you get the next interview and you happen to, get in front of the selection panel, if you go in front of them and you're thinking, well, they're not going to choose me anyway because they don't choose people like me, well, most likely you will fail. So whilst it may be true, sometimes what is true isn't useful, psychologically speaking. So rejection will happen. It's happened to many of us lots of times. What I would say is, something that I remind myself is to recover from it quickly. Just try and recover from rejection as quickly as possible. The longer you spend in between, the worse you could be. The worse you could be. A quick question here: are you a real pilot? Yes. In fact, before we go ahead, since we've got a few new people to the channel, why don't you check this out to see a little bit more about what I do and a little bit more about what this channel is about. I've always loved flying.
Hello. I'm the radar. Come on. Well done.
And dancing, there's no denying. If only I could blend the two. I know what I'll do. I'll fly to new places, to dance with new faces. Making the most of the wins a private pilot license brings.
That was a little bit gusty.
Just made a no-fly decision.
Squawk constituency, 3-call shore.
A different way to our build and advance.
2-0, join downwind.
I call it fly to dance.
4 flaps.
Ooh, nice one.
Flaps come up. Well, flight, man.
Foxtrot Sierra, welcome to shore.
We have everything in this flight, man.
Everything, bro.
So if you're on YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you turn the notification bell on so you don't miss anything. If you're on Kick, make sure you hit that follow button so you don't miss any of the streams. In case you're wondering. The show is brought to you live every Monday, 7 p.m. UTC. Right. Yeah, I mean, views are views. Do you know what? A lot of people pay for adverts on YouTube. A lot of people pay for adverts when they're streaming. A lot of people pay for bots and all that kind of stuff. And really, you have to chuck money at it, to be honest. I don't chuck money at anything because for me, this is not necessarily about trying to blow, the YouTube channel. It's a lot about me putting myself through the process, and whatever growth happens organically. And obviously I work a full-time job. I'm still training. I'm working on lots of things at the same time. So I don't have time to really push as much on the YouTube game or, streaming game. So I just do the bare minimum, which is enough for me to practice the things I need to practice. But yeah, a lot of the times people put money behind their channels for them to really blow. It's very difficult to not, if you don't throw money at it, basically. Have I done my CPL? No, I'm on the way. I've got a PPL. I'm looking to begin my ATPL theories this year. So I'm hoping that will be between, say, July and August next year. July this year, August next year, to get through my ATPL theories. So that's where I'm at. So I'm just enjoying our building. I'm enjoying flying, exploring new places, flying with friends, with family, as you saw in the last little commercial break. If you want to watch that series, by the way, it's on the YouTube channel. It's a Fly to Dance series. Check it out in the playlist section. All right, so let me finish up talking about rejection. I was thinking about this. So I do salsa. Obviously, people who are very, very, what's the word? Very familiar with the channel know that I do salsa, right? And in salsa, there is this tradition where, you know, the music is playing and you go and ask somebody to dance. And it's not like dancing in the club where by asking somebody to dance, there's like a, you know, you're trying to, you know, attract them, or you're trying to make a move on them, or you're trying to drop some game on them. It's not about that. It's literally just dancing. It's a social dance, right? So you go and ask somebody, and usually it's actually not good practice. It's not necessarily good practice, but it's not very sociable to unnecessarily say no to somebody if they ask you to dance, right? But sometimes, obviously, if people are being sleazy, you're going to say no. Anyways, for whatever reason, somebody might say no, maybe because they're tired, maybe because they're leaving, whatever. But when I was thinking about rejection, I thought about salsa, because when somebody, say I went to ask somebody for a dance, would you like to dance? And they're like, no, whatever. Like, you don't sit there and mope about it. You just, okay, cool, I'll ask the next person. What if we approached applications like that? What if we approached opportunities like that? You know, because I speak to a lot of people who are in training, aspiring pilots, a lot of people who have faced rejection, and I see people get unnecessarily bogged down by, you know, rejections, where they're like, oh, I don't think I'll ever apply again. It's like, that would be like me asking somebody to dance in salsa at salsa, and they say, oh no, thanks. And then I go, do you know what? I'll never salsa again. That doesn't quite make any sense, you know? So yeah. So my thoughts at the moment is, how do you recover from rejection? You do it quickly. You go for the next opportunity. You learn the lessons and move on quickly. Learn the lesson, move on quickly. And sometimes it's just, for example, when you apply for scholarships, what we don't realize is, okay, for example, year one, where I applied for the PPL scholarship 2019, 2021, 2022, 2023, I got it. But before that, I never got through the first stage. Each year, there's a different set of people that might see your application. Each year, you're up against a different set of people, right? Your competition is different. All right. So just because you didn't get through last year, you might just come exactly with the same application, with exactly the same strengths, at exactly the same point, and be more like, the selection process might be more favorable for you the next year than it was the previous year, just because the environment's different. So sometimes it's not necessarily because of you not being good enough. Sometimes it's just, look, the competition's really high this year, or next year, you know, you're going to be at the top of the list, but this year you're not at the top of the list. So there's a lot of reasons why you might get rejected. And sometimes our insecurities speak to us and kind of make us feel like, you know, the rejection's because we're not good enough. Maybe that is true. Maybe you're not good enough, in which case all you can do is improve and try again. So try again is what I would say. Yeah. Don't quit. Never give up. Try again. Try again. And a good thing to do is to have an inner circle of trusted friends who are like-minded, because what they can do is they can help you get past yourself, right? Because when you face rejection, you're probably thinking, oh, it's just me, I'm rubbish, whatever. You know, we all have an element of that voice, that kind of that criticizing voice in our heads. But your trusted friends who are like-minded will give you a more objective view. So then if you kind of step away from it and listen to them, then that can help you learn the lesson quicker, right? Or somebody who's further ahead who can mentor you. Mentorship is so important. mentorship is underrated. Honestly, mentorship is underrated because somebody who's much further ahead can see where you're at. They can see a bit more objectively. They've not only have they been through the experience, but they've probably heard of many other people who've been through the experience, those kind of experiences, and they can look at something that you are devastated by and say, you can get through it, because they've seen sometimes even worse than that. So mentorship and having that inner circle is so important when it comes to recovering from rejection. So I would encourage you to do that. I would encourage you to do that if you haven't done that. Do you have an inner circle? Do you have somebody by whom you can be mentored? It just takes asking. These days, social media has us connected so well. And people out there are generally looking for somebody to mentor, right? Because if they can successfully mentor you, then they can almost like relive the success. So people are looking for somebody to mentor. They just need their efforts to not go to waste. And if you come across as somebody with whom their efforts won't go to waste, then they will be more likely to invest in you. But all you have to do is ask. Just ask the question. And if you get rejected, guess what? Just move on and ask again. Learn from it, move on, ask again until you get what you need. So those are my thoughts on rejection. All right. Let's see. What is my favorite airfield aerodrome to fly to? Shout out to Flying Finn. Thank you for passing by. Shout out to you, my guy. Favorite airfield to fly to? I would have to say, okay, so I've actually got a list of airfields that I've visited. I think I'll tell you in a second. I think I'm up to 25, maybe. I might be massively inflating that. But let me have a look. Airfields visited. No, I'm up to 17. I did Old Buck recently. Okay, so I've been to Northfield, Southend, Shoreham, Sandown, Bembridge, Great Oakley, Andrewsfield, Duxford. Why did I put Duxford twice? Duxford, Elmset, Stapleford, Elstree, Breeton, Lydd, Whitewatham, Rochester, Old Buck. Okay, I'll give you my top three. I'll give you my top three and why. Let's see. I would put at number three. Oh, okay. At number three, I would put. Oh, this is tough. Okay, number three, I would put. I want to put Lydd somewhere there, but Lydd, it's nice to fly to, but there is nothing at the airfield. So I won't put Lydd. I'm going to put Shoreham, number three. And that is controversial because I really like Shoreham. I'm going to put it number three. And the reason why I love going to Shoreham is flying along the coast. Number one, beautiful. Usually I route past Brighton Marina, which is, I just love that side. I've tried flying towards, say, Ipswich and Norwich, and the coast is just not as nice. So flying towards Shoreham, love it. The controllers, always friendly, always really accommodating every single time. And yeah, I'm very grateful for that. So I love Shoreham. Nice long runway. It's a bit narrower than what I'm used to, but nice long runway. But the landing fees, the landing fees at Shoreham are a little bit steep. Although there is worse, but yeah, I'll put Shoreham at third. What would I put second? I would say second place. Second place, I would I would have to put Duxford for now. I'll put Duxford second place. Duxford is really nice. Obviously, a lot of history there. It's nice, big, long runway, cool place to fly to. The airfield itself, it's quite nice. A lot to do in Duxford. I've been there a couple of times. There's never enough time, honestly. So Duxford will be my second favorite. Now, honorable mention would go to Great Oakley. Shout out to Great Oakley. I've forgotten the guy who owns it. Oh, and Sandown as well. Honorable mention to Sandown. No PPR, no high vis, and no miserable people. That's the motto for Sandown. So yeah, nice and simple, very enjoyable. The only problem is it's a grass runway, which means, you know, around this time of the year, a lot of the times it's closed and not available. And yeah, the alternative on the Isle of Wight is not as good. So honorable mention to Sandown, honorable mention to Great Oakley. And I would say my top, it's a little bit biased, but my top is Northfield Airfield. What can I say? Fully biased. It's obviously my home airfield, but I've been flying out of Northfield for the last 5 years. 5 and a bit years. And I love it. There's always something going on, particularly in the hotter, good weather months. But lovely wide runways, about 50 meters wide, just about 1,800 meters long, very forgiving. I just love the setup. I really enjoy it there. I love flying into it. Non-standard circuits, no overhead joins. Obviously, you've got Stansted just to the north east. So it can be a bit tricky, but I feel like it's prepared me a lot for controlled airspace being nearby. So yeah, that's my top 3. That's my top 3. Okay. Give me 1 second, people. Give me 1 second. Short, brief commercial break. I've always loved flying.
Hello. Onto the radar. Come on. Well done.
And dancing, there's no denying. If only I could blend the two. I know what I'll do. I'll fly to new places, to dance with new faces, making the most of the wings a private pilot license brings.
That was a little bit gusty. Just made a no-fly decision. Squawk conspicuity, 3-4 shore.
A different way to our build and advance.
2-0, join downwind.
I call it fly to dance.
4 flaps.
Ooh, nice one.
Flaps come up.
Well, flight, man.
Foxtrot Sierra, welcome to shore.
We have everything in this flight, man.
Everything, bro.
Okay, yeah, please do not use ridiculous language in the chat because I will just time you out. So yeah, there you go. 10-minute timeout. And next time it will be longer. So please don't do it because yeah, you know, trying to keep it clean out here. Leon Solent was your favorite. Okay, nice. Do you know what? I wanted to go to Leon Solent. It's definitely on my list. I think it's up next. I did put it on Instagram. Which one should I fly to next? Should I go to, I think I had Norwich or Leon Solent? And most people voted for Leon Solent. So Leon Solent is my next one. I imagine it's incredible. Yeah. So I can't wait for that as well. But yeah, good to know. Whereabouts are you on your journey, Flying Finn? Whereabouts are you in your journey? Please remind me. Whereabouts are you in your journey? Cool. All right. And whilst we're thinking about that, here's another question that comes up. Does mindset matter more than skill? Or does skill matter more than mindset? What do you think? What do you think? What's more important? What's more important? If you had to put skill, mindset, skill. What do we think? Skill or mindset? Which one's more important? Okay, I can only speak from my experience. My experience is, without the mindset, I wasn't able to develop the skill. Always wanted to be a pilot for years and years. Always convinced myself, well, let me be kinder to myself. My best research showed me that it was way out of my reach. Okay. So that stuck with me. And that became my mantra. And that became the reason why I didn't even go for it. But when my mindset changed and I decided that I don't really care if I have what it takes or not. I don't really care if, I end up getting stuck along the way. I'm just going to go. That's all I'm going to do. I'm just going to try. I'm going to go. And again, I'm going to talk about interviews a bit later. But at the PPL scholarship interview, I was asked the question, what will you do if you're not successful at this interview? If you don't get the scholarship, what are you going to do? And I to this day, I believe I actually laughed at that question. And I just literally said, if I have to crawl towards a license, I will crawl towards a license, but I'm getting a license. Now, as far as the scholarship, I'm going to say thank you very much. I appreciate the process, the experience. I've learned a lot about myself, lessons that I can take forward that will benefit me. But I'm getting the license. Now, does that mean that mindset is more important? You make your mind up. But for me, mindset is incredibly important. Now, if you have the mindset, but you don't have the skill, there's a chance you could get the skill. If you have the skill, but you don't have the mindset, you will constantly underperform and you may not make it, So they pretty much go together. But if I had to lean one way, I would rather lean towards the mindset, because mindset can help you develop the skill. But obviously, if you have the right mindset, but you still can't develop the skill, then you still can't do it, obviously. So, but an interesting one to think about, because when we're preparing, a lot of the time we focus on skill, right? I'm preparing. Okay, so let me do this AON testing. All right, let me do this, competency practice. Let me do talking about, preparing using the STAR model. Yeah, let me use this skill. Let me practice this skill of speaking and answering within 2 minutes and evidencing competencies. That's the skill. And we can heavily focus on that without focusing on the mindset. And that's why one of the questions I was asked earlier this year, when I did guest guest shows. And I think that show I had Priyanka and I had Ronica. And Ronica asked me, how do you deal with nerves at an interview? What do you do? And I said to her, a good idea would be to do something that takes you out of your comfort zone before the interview. It doesn't really matter what it is, just as long as it gets you out of your comfort zone. So, for example, speak to 3 different strangers and just ask them whether they've ever considered aviation, and ask them whether they would give you 2 minutes to see whether you can convince them to want to become a pilot. Something fun. Don't overthink it. Don't plan it. None of that. Just try. Just go for it. Just do something that gets you out of your comfort zone. Yeah. Do a live stream if that gets you out of your comfort zone. Just do a live stream, and maybe without giving it away, just kind of talk about your different stories. The stories that you're planning to use for your STAR model, for your competency-based questions, to say, okay, here is how I demonstrated communication. Here's how I demonstrated teamwork. Here's how I demonstrated problem solving. Here's how I demonstrated some motivation. Why don't you just do a live stream before that? If you never do a live stream, if it takes you out of your comfort zone, because if you do that immediately before, then you go to the interview, you're already out of your head, right? Because that's warmed you up. So you practice the skill, but then that last bit, you're getting yourself in the right mindset. So I think naturally we heavily rely on practicing skill, but we don't practice mindset as much. And that example of preparing for an interview is, an example of preparing your mindset rather than just the skill, because you can have the skill, but if you don't have the mindset, then it's not going to work. And here's the other thing to bear in mind. We are all at different places. We've all had different childhoods. We've all been raised by different parents in different environments. Some people might have come out of, an environment with a lot more conflict. Some people might have come from an environment that was a lot more stable. Some people come from an environment where they had to fight for everything. Some people come from an environment where everything was given to them. So you also have to know yourself, because I digress a little bit, but I was talking to Daniel and I were talking about this. Shout out to Daniel. We were talking about this a few weeks ago. The reason why it's important to see people or to hear from people who you perceive are like you, in whatever way you want to define that, is because we all have different starting points. Now, imagine this is the goal, right? This is the goal. But my starting point is here, right? So guess what advice I'm going to tell you? I'm going to tell you, yeah, just go straight forward. And you're going to get there. Yeah, just go straight forward, because this is my starting point. Okay, this is the goal. Now, imagine you're here. Somebody else's starting point is here. Guess what they're going to say? No, they're going to say, no, don't go straight forward, like go upwards. Don't go across, go upwards, right? So this is why you have conflicting advice. And go across worked for this person. Go straight up worked for this person. Conflicting advice, but both work. Right? Now, if you are here and you decide to go across, you're not going to end up there. If you are here and you decide to go up, you're not going to get there, right? So basic navigation. The question is, where are you? Where are you trying to get to? What's the heading? What's the direction you need to go in? Okay. So you have to be mindful who you get advice from. Because I've realized in my journey, I had to work on my mindset to even begin to compete. But I come across people who are like, yeah, no, just do the test, just show up on the day. I'm like, I've showed up on the day before, and guess what happened? This is what happened. Didn't work, right? Because for me, just showing up on the day, you know, just show up on the day, that worked for them, but I'm here. So me just showing up on the day, failure. Yeah. So be mindful who you take advice from, because everyone's coming from a different point and a different place, with a different background, with a different history, with a different, you know, natural ability, with a different, you know, environment, support system. So make sure that you tailor whatever advice you get for your situation, you know. And so for me, mindset is very important, because that's where I come from, where I had a dream that seemed so impossible that I couldn't even get started. Some people don't have that problem. And so for me, mindset is incredibly important. Okay, so obviously you just want to get banned. No worries. I don't mind doing that. I don't. I have no problem with banning anybody. Off topic. Goodbye. In fact, how do you use a no. Put using timeout. Do you know what? Bye. 24-hour timeout. So you can't message again today. Goodbye. Right. Let me see. In my experience, be a goldfish. Forget about the rejection, the failures. Take away the learning, but don't dwell, as this will only limit your progress. Yeah, I have to say, we all have different weaknesses, and I can tend to dwell, which is a strength sometimes, because that means I really take things apart and really see the detail. But sometimes it's just too much. So I think that's great advice. You know, I think it's like anything, like a knife, like a pen, like an axe, anything, right? It's just how you use it. Everything is a tool. It's just the context, right? So every bit of advice technically could be good, but it's just the context. Sometimes you might need to break it down a bit more and spend a bit more time, but yeah, I like your idea, Flying Finn, of just being a goldfish in a way that says to me that you're slightly removed, right? You're just kind of viewing rather than being in it and kind of taking it all personally. You're kind of a little bit more removed from it and just kind of observing it, almost like from a bird's eye view kind of thing, but from inside what do you put fish in? What do you put fish in? What's the word? What's the word? Fish tank? Something like that. But yeah, cool. Couple more questions and then I am out of here. Please do put any questions in the chat. Let's have a chat. This is an interesting one. How do you avoid skill fade if you can't fly often? How do you avoid skill fade if you can't fly often? Now, my experience with this was when I first started doing PPL training, I knew that I wouldn't be flying every week. I knew that my lessons would be like a month apart. In fact, my instructor used to joke each time I had a lesson, Sabina, who's in my videos, she used to say, "Oh, we got a lesson, fantastic." And at the end of the lesson, she'd be like, "Okay, see you next year." She knew that I had gaps between my lessons. Now, be mindful, be aware of the phases of training. So for example, with PPL training, earlier on, you can kind of have gaps a little bit. But when you get towards the end where you're doing navigation, where you need to ramp it up towards the skills test, if you spread it out, you're going to have to redo things automatically, right? Because there's a lot of trust from your flight instructor to send you out solo to a landaway, right? They need you to be more recent. Whereas the first few exercises, straight and level, climbing, descending, flying at selected airspeed or whatever it is, those kind of things, you kind of get to practice them each session. So those earlier sessions could be more standalone, whereas towards the end it's more bunched up. So just bear that in mind, particularly if you're at that point in your training. But yeah, I knew that skill fade would be an issue. So what I did was, one, I filmed my lessons, recorded. Listen, it doesn't take much more than a phone, either to record, just the audio. You can do that with a phone. Yeah, you just need to have the right connections, and that's it. You can have the audio, and you can literally use your phone to record the video, right? So it's so easy to do, obviously, if your instructor allows. But that's one of the things I did, filmed my lessons so that I could relive my lessons, which meant that I could reduce skill fade. Secondly, flight simming, but I've talked about this a lot, so I won't go into it too much. But when I flight sim, I fly from exactly the same airfield I would normally, in exactly the same type of aircraft that I would normally, using exactly the same procedures that I would normally, going through my checklist exactly like I would normally, just to make sure that I'm practicing. Obviously, armchair flying, visualizing, all of that goes hand in hand with that. Also, I would say, thirdly, it's keeping detailed debrief notes. Okay. If you're not going to be flying often, you need to have detailed debrief notes. Like, it doesn't have to be detailed, to be fair. It has to be good quality. All right. So any kind of feedback your instructor gives you, you should have those jotted down. And guess what you're going to do? During your visualizing, during your flight simming, what you're going to do is practice those things to make sure that you've corrected yourself, right? So that each time you're approaching a lesson, you've corrected old mistakes. And then what you can also do is what I used to do, again, do your own research, speak to your flight instructor. I'm just telling you what was useful for me, is when you have the book, and some people don't know this, particularly with PPL training. I wonder if that's the case with some training further down the line. But with the PPL books, you've literally got all the exercises laid out in Pooley's book #1, Flying Training. So you can literally teach, like learn or practice from that, practice the maneuvers you're going to do during the lesson, so that when you approach the lesson, it's not the first time that you're doing the maneuver, right? Now, you didn't make it up on your own. You're getting it from the textbook which your instructors will want you to have read. So read ahead, practice ahead, so that you are ahead of the game. Those are some of the things that helped me. So yeah, do that. One thing that Keno told me a couple of years ago now, shout out to Keno. He told me that you should read standards documents. So the standard by which you're going to be, assessed at your skills test, whatever it is, look that up. You can just search that up and then try to practice those things and be within those tolerances, be within those parameters. So yeah, that's a good way to kind of stay on top of skill fade. But some skill fade will happen. So yeah, obviously try and avoid it wherever possible. But if you can't, because it's a struggle, then you have to be more creative. Something else Keno said is like, you can pass in minimum hours, but you almost have to do probably about, let's say the PPL is 40 hours, right? To be skills test eligible. Multiply that by 3, 120 hours. Spending 120 hours on the sim or visualizing is what it's going to take, at least, potentially. Obviously, individual differences. But that's what it could take. If you want to really fight skill fade, you have to be proactive. And so for each hour you're flying in a real aircraft, you should be doing 1, 2, 3 hours equivalent in practice. Break it down, break it up though, right? 5 minutes each day. By the time you get to the end of the month, how many hours is that? 150, right? 150 minutes, right? So yeah, it kind of stacks up. So practice a little bit often, and before you know it, you'll be stacking up the hours. So that's a good way to try and avoid skill fade. All right. Fishbowl, thank you. Thank you, Flying Fin. Fishbowl. There you go. For some reason, it just completely escaped me. I couldn't even think of that. All right. So I'm going to wrap it up because I want to go and rest and recover, ready for tomorrow. I'm going to be back at work tomorrow. So I'm going to cover the question about scholarship interview. How do I stand out in a scholarship interview? Good question. Good question. First thing is, in my experience, do your research. Most likely, they're going to want to hear that you know something about them. That will be asked in a variety. That may be asked in a variety of ways. It could be asked, what do you know about the company? It could be more like, oh, why do you want to be part of our company? Or why do you want to join us? Or why do you want to fly for this airline? It could come across in slight variations, but the question is the same, or what they're looking for is the same, is how much do you know about us? Or did you just kind of wake up today and just go, well, I'll go to them. So do some research, some basic research of the company. That's highly advised. Highly advised. I have to admit, when I went to my scholarship interview, I wasn't super brushed up on this question, the company, but I think that I had lots more other strengths that covered for that. But yeah, if I had to redo it again, I would definitely be a lot stronger in this question. It's just an easy win, okay? With one airline, for example, something that they say is they post a lot on LinkedIn. They kind of put these statistics in a nice kind of infographic type format, where it's like a lot of information, but in a very digestible way. And they just say, hey, just follow us on LinkedIn, just look at that and you'll know, more than some employees know about the company. So do your research. I would say that another thing that can make you stand out is, I'm thinking of a few things. Here. Yeah, I love planes too, man. I love planes too. Shout out to you. Each company has its own process. So if you want to stand out at the interview, I'd say speak to somebody who's been through that interview process before. Okay. Now, I could give you the generic thing, which is know your competencies, evidence your competencies. That's like basic, right? But each company kind of has its own process. So one thing I would say, what are we, an hour, 4 minutes in? Okay, cool. So I'll talk a little bit about air pilots. Because if you've made it this far, then you probably deserve to hear the information. For example, with the air pilots, one of the things I would say is, I felt like my interview was a deep dive into my application. So one of the advice pieces of advice that I gave, for example, Veronica, when we were on the live stream back in January, is go to each question and just kind of do a spider diagram. What question could come out of this? I'll give you an example. One of my questions, or one of the things I put that I was most proud of, was going on my first solo. Then the question came up. You said you were really proud of going on your first solo? Okay. Well, what was that? Oh, it's when I flew a circuit around it. Circuit, what's that? Talk me through that. Okay. So I'm in the aircraft, I go full power, heels to the floor, right rudder to make sure that it's, keeping it on the runway to counteract the left turning tendencies. I didn't say this, but just to give you an idea. Then about 55 knots, I rotate, climbing away, 300 feet above, I accelerate, retract the flaps, do felt checks. So flaps, engine T's and P's in green, landing light goes off, trimmed for the climb, climbing about 70 knots. So then they might, oh, you said flaps. What are those? Right? So, oh, okay. So the flaps change the shape of the wing. They increase lift, also increase drag, blah, blah, blah. They reduce your ground roll. They steepen your descent, and, that kind of thing. They allow you to, they compromise your climb out, all that kind of thing, whatever, that kind of thing. But basically, that one point of my first solo being my proudest achievement turned into talk me through a circuit, right? So what I would say to do if you want to stand out is look at each section of the application and literally spider diagram all the questions that could come up from it that you could think of. And that could help you prepare and be strong across the board. Obviously, if you don't have that experience, then you can't get asked about something that, technical information that you're not supposed to know, but general information. Or for example, if you have career plans, here's my career plan. I want to, have a CPL, then go ATPL and be a flight instructor. Like, oh, you want to be a flight instructor? Okay. What are the requirements for flight instructing, or for you to get a flight instructor rating? I don't know yet. Yeah, not a good answer. All right. So whatever you've put down, you need to know layers and layers of that. And that would really make you stand out. So I'll leave it at that. Anywho, for those of you who are some of my regulars, and for those of you who are new, by the way, you would know that I'm trying out this new format just to balance out my work commitments, which is the first Monday of the month. I'm basically doing an Ask Me Anything, just chilled vibes. Second one is more like watching videos and reacting to some of the best videos on the internet that are useful. Then maybe the third one is more about accident investigation, that kind of thing. And the fourth one might be a guest. I'm working on that, but it's kind of tricky because guests have their own availability. So I kind of have to fit them anywhere in that pocket, really. So sometimes I'll have to move things around, which, for example, this month, I have to move things around because I'm going to have a guest. So far, we've penciled it for 2 weeks from now on the 16th. But we talked a little bit about mindset, and I've wanted to bring a therapist on before, just to talk a little bit more about the nervous system. And we talk about getting nervous at the interviews and stuff like that. Well, that's a nervous system response, right? So we're going to have a bit more of a deep dive into the nervous system, into, some of the things, some of the ways that we can look at our poor performance so that we can really find what's going on and improve. Because sometimes it's not a skill thing, it's a mindset thing, right? And so it's important to be able to be in that fishbowl and view things kind of in a 360 way. Is it skill? Is it mindset? But obviously this guest and I will be focusing more on the mindset aspect because they're not from the aviation world, but I'm quite curious about their expertise, about their knowledge, and how it might apply to aspiring pilots, training pilots, pilots who are hoping to get through assessments, hoping to get through recruitment processes, understanding what's happening with your nervous system to a greater degree, so that you can better deal with it. Because if you know what's happening, then you can manage it better. So that's the hope. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that conversation. Should be really cool. In 2 weeks, on the 16th of this month, I'm going to have a guest on. So stay tuned. There'll be more information. If you don't have me on Instagram, make sure you follow me on Instagram. Follow the channel on Instagram. Future Pilot 9, number 9, number 1. Yeah, Future Pilot 9 on Instagram, because I'll probably post it there first. Although YouTube does have a feature where you can do posts, so I might also post it on the YouTube. But yeah, make sure you look out for that. And your questions are more than welcome, because I will pass your questions on to my guest, who is a qualified therapist, who can, give you their insight on that. And yeah, you can, let's just say you're asking a question for somebody else. It may not necessarily to do with you, right? Maybe it's a question you've heard from somebody else and you're asking on their behalf. So just send it and say, hey, this is on behalf of a friend of mine, yeah, who's a bit too embarrassed to ask, in case you don't want to be bait. I might even have a way to ask questions anonymously, because I know sometimes it can be a bit of a touchy subject, so, and I want people to be able to participate. So I might find a way to ask anonymous questions on the live, right? But yeah, we'll see how that goes. Anywho, that's it from me. I had an interesting quote that I wanted to share with you guys, because I'm reading this book, 81 Lessons from the Sky by Fletcher Mackenzie. Quite interesting. So remember, the show is live every Monday, 7 p.m. UTC. Join me, if you will, on this journey. I appreciate your company. Shout out to Flying Finn. Thank you for passing by. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Shout out to Lyco Aviation. Is that Lyco? Lyco Aviation. Shout out to you. Thank you for passing by. Appreciate you. Shout out to the regulars, to the people who watch the replay. Appreciate you. Shout out to who else? Who else was in here? Loki. Thank you for passing by. What is the average cost required to do CPL? I'm from India. I don't know about India prices. So you're going to have to do your research on that. I mean, CPL, it really depends on where you do it, how you do it, and whether you do it within minimums, but a few tens of thousands it'll take you to get there. I don't have the figures to hand though. But I'm guessing anywhere between your, because ATPLs ATPLs all the way to ATPL takes you up to like 100K potentially. Modular, you might be slightly less than that, maybe the 85K mark, depending on what you do. It really depends. If you go modular, you can really bring the price down. For example, with modular, you can do cost sharing during your hour building phase, which can save you a ton of money. And then, yeah, you can kind of shift things around. Whereas if you go integrated, then you're going to go, a different route. But I mean, that's a Google search away. So I'd say, I don't know what India's like. Just do a Google search of that, and or your favorite search engine, and that will give you the info you want to get. But if you want to be more specific, then maybe next time I can share with you guys because I've got my training plan. And I've got the costs of different sections. So maybe I'll bring that up next time. So yeah, let me know. Shout out to Airbus 318. Thank you for passing by. Thank you for everyone in the chat. Appreciate you. So yes, if you're on YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you turn on the notification so you don't miss the next ones. If you're on Kick, make sure you hit that follow button and you will get reminders for when I am live. All right, people. All right. Well, I'll leave you with this quote. Leave you with this quote. So, by Charles Lindbergh. The readiness to blame a dead pilot for an incident is nauseating. But it has been the tendency ever since I can remember. What pilot has not been in positions where he was in danger and where perfect judgment would have advised against going? But when a man is caught in such a position, he is judged only by his error and seldom given credit for the times he has extricated himself from worse situations. Worst of all, blame is heaped upon him by other pilots, all of whom have been in parallel situations themselves, but without being caught in them. If one took no chances, one would not fly at all. Safety lies in the judgment of the chances one takes. Until next time, this is Future Pilot 901 live, and I'm your future captain. My name is D, and I'm reminding you to live your dreams. Peace. I've always loved flying.
Hello. Under the radar. Come on. Well done.
And dancing, there's no denying. If only I could blend the two. I know what I'll do. I'll fly to new places, to dance with new faces, making the most of the wings a private pilot license brings.
That was a little bit gusty. Just made a no-fly decision. Squawk on switch duty, 3 call shore.
A different way to our build and advance.
2-0, join downwind.
I call it fly to dance.
Full flaps.
Ooh, nice one.
Flaps come up.
Well, flight, man.
Foxtrot Sierra, welcome to shore.
We have everything in this flight, man.
Everything, bro.
Man, from living in my car to finally getting my trial flight done.
Hold it.
To being in this moment.
Hey, come on. Well done.
Was it worth the sacrifice? Oh man.
Go straight. Pull back. Maybe pull back more. Hold it there. Pull back.
Switching to Southern radar 130.
Bit more.
Listen. Was it worth the sacrifice?
So, power right on. Center line.
Listen, if you have a dream, it's down to you to make it happen, man. You might give it everything and it might still not work, but guess what?
The journey makes you a better, stronger person. Can you imagine what kind of person you would become if you didn't pursue the one thing that you thought was the best thing in the world? You didn't pursue it. What kind of person does that make you after 20, 30 years of doing that? But when you chase what you believe is the most valuable, the most beautiful, the most awesome thing that you can do, and you give it everything, win or lose, you become a better person.
Ever since I was a kid, I had a dream of becoming a pilot, but could never afford it. One day I decided to stop making excuses, to sacrifice my comfort, to make my dream happen. My name is D, and this is my journey. This is Future Pilot 901.